Well, in case you were wondering, I can't sleep. It's 4:33 in the morning. My bed's covered in books. So I've been busy all day, all night. That's not true. I slept most of the day yesterday. Technically it's yesterday, Saturday, but I'm still awake since the last time I woke up. And I've just been editing videos and Autodidactica. I'm staring at it on the other side of the country, on the other side of the camera. It's exporting the video. Took all night. It's a 3.5 hour episode about Tokyo Ghoul being a bisexual metaphor. But yeah, just trying to catch up. So I'm powering through the night. I can't allow myself to sleep, but I'm too ADD to just sit there and edit videos all night, so I figured I'd start talking to my people. Hello, my people. How are you doing? Anybody else got the insomnias? I don't know. So what's on my mind other than all the stuff in the world? I don't know. I went to Walmart earlier tonight. I hate going to Walmart. It just makes me angry. It's kind of like driving to and from work gives me road rage. I don't know, there's a particular kind of rage that comes with shopping at Walmart that feels mighty similar. I don't know, it makes me want to eat the rich. I'm hungry for the rich. It's time. Let's start posting recipes, because it's happening. We're gonna be eating them any minute now. The way things are going. I don't know. It's just everything. Every time I go to Walmart, it gets more expensive, and I buy cheaper and cheaper stuff. I bought mostly canned food. Just mixed veggies. Some black-eyed peas. I've always looked for black-eyed peas. They never have them, because I make this weird concoction, or I did back when I could find black-eyed peas anywhere, where it's just I get a bowl, I pour in some green beans out of a can, then I pour in some black-eyed peas out of a can, and I call it a feast. But everything, it cost me $100 to get out of there, darn near. And I wanted to feast on billionaires. If a can of soup costs $6, that makes a billionaire look mighty tasty. And that dude was it Kellogg's? I don't know. But the CEO of one of the cereal companies was if no one can afford to eat anymore, they should try eating cereal for dinner. Then proceeds to raise the price of cereal 12%. Let's put him in a bowl, pour milk on him, and eat him for dinner. That's all I'm saying. It's eat the rich time. It's eat the rich o'clock here in America. It's almost there. The second hand is getting closer and closer to eat the rich o'clock. I don't know. It's just crazy to me that this is happening, that everything is so expensive. And that's why, just generally, I can't sleep. So, I've been having, is it hypnagogic hallucinations? That's been fun. I'm drinking some reheated decaf coffee. This is my life right now. But like, the hallucinations where like you get suddenly woken up from a deep sleep, and so like your brain is still dreaming. So you look at your wall and it just, the Hebrew writing starts covering the whole wall. And you can't read it, but you're pretty sure that's the Hebrew alphabet up there. And that's what I usually see. It's not what I was dreaming about, but it's what I usually see when I'm having these hypnagogic hallucinations. Like, because that's what they call it when you have a hallucination based on you're kind of still like dreaming, even though you're awake, because you were in such a deep sleep, so you see things that aren't there for a few seconds or so. The freakiest one was the other day. I looked over on that wall when I woke up. Of course, Hebrew letters start spreading out everywhere, and then from the middle of the Hebrew writing, this woman's hand with red painted nails started reaching out of the wall towards me. And I wasn't freaked out because I'm like, that's weird. Because I mean, I was aware that I was most likely hallucinating because I had been jarred out of sleep. I can't get through a night's sleep. Something always wakes me up. But I think in that instance, something in my dream woke me up. Like, it was so shocking that I just woke up and oh, there's the Hebrew writing on my wall again, and now a woman's hand is coming out of it. What's going on? And like, it lasts long enough that I can blink and rub my eyes and open them and it's still there. But it doesn't, it goes away after a few seconds, I think. I haven't timed it. But it's weird. It's distressing that it's happening so frequently. And why Hebrew? Why Hebrew writing? If only I could take a picture, you know? But you can't take a picture of something that you're hallucinating. But what if I'm not hallucinating it? That's the other freaky thing to think about. Like why? Like, what if there is some hand reaching out for me? It's like, why Hebrew? Why Hebrew writing? I'm very perplexed by that. The Hebrew alphabet, which I cannot read yet. Always say yet. You never know where life's going to take you. So yeah, like, rich people make us eat cereal. That dude's not going to eat cereal for dinner. I mean, crap. I don't know, man. Like, I've been doing these videos without sleep medication. This will be the third episode I've done without sleep medication. And like, I don't know, they get kind of pointed, like they're sharp, these episodes. Like, they aren't as incoherent as I'm used to them being. Because now I'm thinking about just the wealth gap in America right now and how angry it makes me, and just, you know, I keep talking about political things. Like, even when I was talking about Jar Jar Binks, it was wound up being about American politics. But I mean, it's an election year. There's a lot of horse crap going on. A lot of it. And just stuff that I'm bewildered by. Like, why? You know, like, why do the Republicans think we need to, you know, that TikTok is a bigger problem than assault weapons being freely available. Like, why would you ban TikTok before you ban assault weapons? Do address mass shootings? TikTok isn't killing anyone. I don't know. I'm just, just the, I guess the priorities, you know? Like, this is what's led to this wealth inequality, is people in power prioritizing the wrong things. Things that don't help us. And I really love it, and sarcastically he said, I really love it when they do it in the name of Jesus. Like, what's even up? Well, what is even up with the Christian right? Like, how... I just... How? How do you go to Sunday school every Sunday and then think Jesus is all about deporting immigrants and starving the poor and treating women like cattle, and like God is sitting up on a cloud just easily defeated by anyone having butt sex on earth? I don't understand how you think like that. Like, how do you think God is the supreme being capable of creating everything, the entire cosmos, like all-knowing, ever-present? How do you say that on one hand, and then on the other you say he's easily defeated by people having butt sex? Like, that he can't stop it, and it just is the most horrifying thing to him that, you know, he, whatever, like, why is God scared of the devil? Why, you know, like, they talk about the devil like the devil is not just another god, but potentially more powerful. I mean, they attribute so much to the devil. They give the devil so much credit. They give the devil more credit than God. Honestly. Like, I've always thought, you know, like they'll say something like, well, the devil is the god of the earth. And so then I want to just say the blessing before dinner and be like, oh, well, thank you, Satan, for this beautiful day. It was like, what? Y'all are the ones who said Satan was the god of the earth. Don't look at me like that. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's like the Christian right has lost the plot. The Christian right has absolutely lost the plot. I mean, because there's so much that they do collectively. I mean, there are individual exceptions. You can't lump everyone into one thing like that. People are far too diverse, which is something they kind of hate. But because I know there's people watching this video probably who consider themselves a part of the Christian right, who are going to disagree with everything I say, and that's fine, that's good, that's healthy, please do. But my experience, you know, I guess the Christian right as represented by political leaders, at least, have clearly lost the plot. There's not a better way to say it. They don't know what Jesus said. They don't know what Jesus taught. And if they did, they'd be irritated by it. Like, I've seen some examples of that, where they just want to ignore stuff. Like, you know, like, what does the Bible say about abortion? If you look it up, and it's a site that, like a Christian site that's anti-abortion, anti-choice is really the better way to put it. Like, women shouldn't have autonomy. They shouldn't have the choice. about what to do with things growing in their bodies that can't live on their own yet. I mean, gosh, this episode's gonna piss some people off. That's fine. Let's have a conversation, not a fight. Let's not fight. Let's just. I'll tell you what I think. You may tell you. No, you already know what you think. And no, I haven't had sleep medicine. I'm just acting goofy because I'm tired, I guess. It's almost 5 in the morning. But I'll tell you what I think. You can tell me what you think. It's an exchange of ideas. We don't have to agree. But, like, so that's what, if you find it on their website, they'll only list verses that, or like, before you were born, I knew you. That honestly doesn't tell us about abortion. Or, like, there's some story about a miscarriage. Like, I think there's a scuffle and a miscarriage happens, and God's like, that's bad. That's still not abortion, right? I don't know. Like, but then, in Numbers, somewhere in Numbers, and they never list this verse, where they actually talk about abortion, specifically. And it's not God saying, don't do it. It's God saying, here's how to do it. It's God saying, if the husband is suspicious that his wife may have cheated on him, or feels jealous, if the husband has reason to be jealous, he can take his wife to the priest and they give her this drink. And if she's innocent, she'll be fine. And the baby will be fine. And we're specifically talking about a pregnant wife. But if she's been unfaithful, then, abortion will happen. And here's how you do it. Here's how you do it, jealous husbands. How you take your wife in and force her to have an abortion with the priest. That's in the Bible. That they claim as the flawless Word of God, right? It's right there, and that is the only specific mention of abortion that I am aware of. And God doesn't have a problem with it. He's like telling you when, where, and how to do it. For, reasons way less compelling than incest or rape. It's not about the woman at all, of course. It's about the man feeling jealous or suspicious. Like, if it's not your kid, it's okay to abort it. The priest will do it for you. I mean, so there's that. I mean, and there's so much stuff, man. Like, I'm so gonna piss people off. So they, like, and they're all against, homosexual relationships. But they ignore the fact that David and Jonathan were clearly having sex with each other. Like, because, okay, here's something interesting. Like, and I may have mentioned this in another video somewhere on this channel, but instead of making you look that up, I'll just reiterate or iterate for the first time. Because, like, alright, so if you were to wash away religious connotation from 1 Samuel, the book in the Bible, 1 Samuel, and 2 Samuel, both of them, because there's some overlap in the David and Jonathan story. Like, and if you were to look at it the way we look at any other ancient epic from that time, it's clear that David and Jonathan were lovers, that David was bisexual, that, but if you can't take it just at face value, if you're not religious in reading this story about their love for each other, there's other stuff, there's historical context beyond just the time and culture, the warrior culture of the time and region. Because, okay, here's the thing, the word Hebrew didn't exist in 1000 BC. I think that's when, around 1000 BCE, whichever you prefer. The word Hebrew didn't exist, but the word Habaru did. And I read this book about the life of David. They didn't talk much about his possible bisexuality, but they did address it in a very scholarly manner. And this is where I got this information, that okay, so here's the thing. So at one point David goes on the run because Saul is a little bit nuts. The King Saul, who David's boss. David's boss is nuts, and David's banging his boss's son. And this story is what I'm getting to is about the Habaru, but there's some other stuff coming to mind as I go, so every now and again, Saul will be equally celebrating David and plotting his death. He sends David off to war, David does good, makes Saul look good. Saul's like, yeah, David, you rule. But then he hears the people saying, David rules, and he's like, what the hell, I'm the king. They like him too much, I'm gonna kill him. So at one point, Saul's son Jonathan, David's lover, gets wind of his father's plot to kill David and goes to him and says, you gotta go, you gotta run. I'll let you know when it's safe to come back and all that. David's like, alright, that sucks, let's go make out in the bushes before I leave. And then they do, and then David leaves, because they're just great friends. And David, what he does, at one point in his escape, he hooks up with in the English translations of the Bible, it says a band of Hebrews. So again, we know that word Hebrew didn't exist when this was all going down. And correct me if I'm wrong. I got this information from a book. I will, all my whole library is in storage. So I can't, because it's a biography of David. But yeah, I want to write down, I'm going to try to find find it online, on Amazon or something, because I don't remember the author or the title, just so you know what I'm referencing, and I'll post it somewhere. If nothing else down there, I'll post it if I can find it. Because I don't want to be vague about stuff like that. So, for anyone who seeks to refute me. But the Habaru. Who were the Habaru? The Habaru were a band of basically road pirates. They were brigands. They were thieves. They were known. They were notorious for being a band of homosexual thieves. So Word Hebrew didn't exist, word Hebrew did. English translation says David hooked up with a band of Hebrews. A band of Hebrew road pirates, thieves, in the same region where we have the Habaru. Hebrew didn't exist, Hebrew did. Most likely scenario, David doesn't have a problem with gay stuff. So David hooks up with what known band of thieves is in the area with a name that sounds kind of like Hebrew, the Habaru. So he hooks up with a gang of gay thieves and joins them. So that's fun, that's interesting. And then, while David's off, like, in hiding, Saul is, like, pissed at Jonathan and starts insulting him and crap, like, this is all in the Bible. And, one line that I find really, and I love the book of Samuel, that's one of my favorite Bible books from when I was a child. First Samuel rules. The whole David epic is great because he's such a human. He's this mythological hero, but he's so human. That's what I love about the David story. Is that he's not performing miracles, he's not walking on water, turning anything into wine, he's not raising the dead, he doesn't have superhuman strength, he's not Hercules, he's just a dude who makes all of these human mistakes. Like, he's susceptible to all of these human weaknesses. He's just fantastic, and because he still does all this great stuff, like, he's still God's chosen in that story. And, like, so anyway, like, Saul's insulting he's insulting David. I mean, not David, but Jonathan. And he's all, "Don't you think I don't know you side with David to your mother's shame?" Which is basically like, I don't know, like, I take that as him calling him gay. Like, he might as well have called him a gay slur. It's like, because he's mad about how close he is with David, how he's siding with David, helping him get away, all this stuff, or he suspects he's helping him get away. But yeah, so, and then of course you get into, so, Jonathan and Saul both die at the end of the first book of Samuel. Then the second book of Samuel starts with a retelling of Saul's death that's a little bit different than the way it was at the end of 1 Samuel. But the Bible is flawless, right? Like, I don't know why we're so afraid to admit that the Bible is not a perfect continuity. It's, if God wrote the Bible, then God needs an editor. It's just, maybe he can get the devil to be his editor because that guy's got all the power, right? From what I hear, from what I'm told. God, I'm gonna piss people off. It's fine. It's fine to piss people off. They don't worry about pissing me off. So Saul and Jonathan are dead, and David delivers the eulogy. And this is beautiful eulogy. But there's this specific line when he's talking about Jonathan where, he's talking about their love and how, wonderful the love of Jonathan was to him, surpassing the love of women. His actual words. And I'm like, alright. You know, it's kind of like in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Like I don't understand people's aversion to seeing what's right there. Like, because in the Epic of Gilgamesh, when Gilgamesh meets his Jonathan, basically, because it's like the hero always has a buddy who's probably his lover. It's like Achilles was definitely banging Patroclus. Or technically the other way around. Because Achilles was a bottom, as it turns out. But like, it's there in ancient literature about warriors. And you know, Epic of Gilgamesh had a similar line where, you know, Gilgamesh loved Enkidu and loved him in the way that you love a woman. That it says that in the Epic of Gilgamesh. And I remember bringing this up to my college professor, and she was just like, well, that's an interesting take. And look, it's literally written right here. They were doing it. Like, earlier in the Epic of Gilgamesh, they sent him on a quest because he's banging everyone. Like, their daughters and their sons. It says so. Like, why can't we accept what something says? It's like, you're going to take the Bible literally. You have to accept that David and Jonathan made out in the bushes. You have to accept that David's love for Jonathan surpassed the love of women. You have to accept that they were gay warriors. You have to accept that they were warriors of a particular age, of a particular time period and region of the world. Like, the Lord didn't mind. I mean, because when God in those books does punish David, it's for something he did with a woman. He doesn't punish him for Jonathan. God's cool with it. Like, but Old Testament God is crazy. So, like, he's not consistent in, like, his... what pisses him off. What pisses him off. It's like, oh, I hate, you know, rich people. I mean, all throughout the Bible, like in the New Testament, you have Jesus saying, it's as difficult for a rich man to get into heaven as it is for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle, which was a reference to a geographical location called the Eye of the Needle. I think it was a mountain pass, and it was really difficult to navigate. It wasn't actually talking about cramming a camel through a literal needle, like the literal eye of a needle. No, it was this just treacherous path, the eye of the needle. But he'll say that on one hand, but he's supposed to actually be the same God who rewards people like Abraham and Moses with riches, like, or not Moses necessarily, but he definitely rewarded Abraham by making him a rich man. He rewarded, like in Genesis, the patriarchs of Genesis all got rich, like stupid rich. So, like, as a reward, God makes it difficult for them to go to the kingdom of heaven. I don't know, man. But that's not my point. Do I have a point? I don't know. It's an I can't sleep video. I'm just rambling, in theory. Hypothetically. What's more accurate to say? Neither, I guess. But, I'm just rambling. So, but you know, like, on to losing the plot, like, there's all this cherry picking, I guess. It's like, the Bible explicitly says to be kind to the alien among you, the foreigner. Treat them like your own family. But the Christian right, you know, it's like it's mixed up. It's all mixed up together like it shouldn't be. There shouldn't be this fusion of Christianity and right-wing politics. Just like there shouldn't be a fusion of Christianity and left-wing politics. These should be separate things. And if you are a Christian more than you are a Republican, I don't understand how you vote Republican. Like, how you're... Because the values seem to me to be the opposite. You know, Jesus is all about giving to the poor, helping the poor, feeding the hungry, curing the sick, and not charging them more than they can possibly earn in 10 years, you know? And Jesus even said stuff like, you know, you get on Facebook and brag about being a Christian all day. You pat yourself on the back and you're such a good person because you're a Christian, and you go tell everybody about it, and you stand up in a Denny's and pray really loud for everyone to hear before you eat your pancakes. I mean, and Jesus specifically said, don't do that. Specifically. He's like, don't be like those people. You're not doing it for God, you're the glory of God. You're doing it for the glory of yourself. You want to go pray, go close yourself in your closet at home and pray. You and God. Don't make a show out of it. But that's an ignored verse. That's part of the plot they lost long ago. Like, immediately. It's still there, but they pretend it's not. Even though they say the Bible is the absolute infallible word of God. But we don't talk about the parts we don't like, or that work against how we really feel. Like, we really want to be patted on the back for being Christians. So we're going to stand up in Denny's and pray. We're going to try to force all the Muslim kids in public school to say the Lord's Prayer every morning again, because gosh darn it, we need God in school. Like, how can you keep God out of school? Like, that's what I don't understand. Their vision of God is so small and frail and easily defeated. Like, easily, like, they'll say, oh, it's not guns, it's that God isn't in schools. If we had God in school, then there wouldn't be these mass shootings. So you're telling me God is letting children be shot because we aren't forcing them to say the Lord's Prayer? Count me out. I mean, count me out. This is why Christianity is shrinking. But that's absolutely what, in the Bible, Jesus himself said, don't do that. So, like, you know, and Jesus himself was constantly talking about the hypocrisy of religion, and like how the Jewish leaders of the day, like everyone, they were too obsessed. The people of the book, I think, is what he referred to them as. Like, they were referred to, like they were very, quote unquote, by the book about their religious practices, to the point that they missed the point. Like Jesus healing people. This is turning into a sermon. I'm not trying to make anyone religious, I promise. It's just I'm very knowledgeable about these things. So, and it's the matter at hand. So Jesus was constantly saying, y'all are missing the point. Like for example, yes, there's all this crap in the Pentateuch about the Sabbath and keeping it holy, and don't so much as pick up a twig, or Moses is going to put you on the rack back in the day, like, and those are the laws. You don't work on the Sabbath, there could be a potential death penalty involved. Like, I don't think they were practicing death penalties for it by the time of Jesus, but in the time of Moses they were, but they were very scoldy about it. It's like, oh, you're working on the Sabbath, how dare you heal the sick on the Sabbath? Because that's what Jesus was doing. Jesus, a devout Jew, was healing people on Saturday afternoon. Like, not supposed to do it. And he's like, y'all are missing the point. Y'all have lost the plot. Do you really think God cares more about you taking a break on Saturday than he does about this guy getting the help he needs on Saturday? Count me out. That's what he said. I'm paraphrasing. That's not in the Bible. But I mean, that story is in the Bible, but word for word, he didn't say count me out. But you know what I mean. Like, he basically did. It's just like, I'm not playing by those rules. You've lost the plot. And then they act like the rainbow has been stolen by the LGBTQ community. We're taking the rainbow back. It's still there. Like, it's just a symbol. It's just a thing that exists in nature, rainbows. It's like, to you it can symbolize God's promise never again to flood the earth. To others, it can symbolize the diversity of their community. One does not negate the other. But you know, whatever happened to love your neighbor as yourself? Like, the Christian right flushes that down the toilet. There are all these exceptions. And you know, nowhere in the Bible does it say that let's change the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday. Like, if you're really taking the Bible literally, right, you should just sit at home and veg on Saturday. Worship God on Saturday. The Sabbath should remain holy. But it's not. Like, Christians not only worship God on Sunday rather than Saturday, but they spend Saturday being very busy people. Generally speaking. It's like the Bible is only to be taken literally if they can use it to hurt somebody or to justify doing something they want to do. And I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with people considering the Bible to be inspired. But to be perfect, it's objectively not. Objectively not. Like, just take the death of King Saul, like I mentioned, the end of 1 Samuel and the beginning of 2 Samuel. You know, in one of them, he's killed in battle. No, wait, let me think, because I want to get this right, and I haven't looked at it in a while. Like, I think in one of them, like, he's wounded either way, fatally wounded. In one of them, he either dies or kills himself. In the other one, he's killed by a mercy killing. He asks someone else to kill him. I think that's how it is. I think he killed himself in one, and in the other, someone else does it for him. Still, it's not a perfect unity in the narratives there. You have the book of Genesis, chapters 1 and 2. Tell us completely contradicting creation stories. To me, the message is, we don't know how this happened. We know that this happened. It's like, the message here is God created the universe, and we don't know exactly how, and we don't know exactly in what order, in what timetable. Like, we just know God created the universe. That's the story that we're telling you. That's what we're telling you. And here are a couple of ideas how it might have happened. You know, I think chapter 1 is the 6 days creation narrative. And chapter 2 is the Adam and Eve story. You know, you don't read those back to back, and you might not realize they're two completely separate stories. The 6 days and Adam and Eve. And the 6 days I find interesting because a lot of it parallels the theory of evolution, like as it given the order that creatures came into existence on Earth. And humans were the last of them. Whereas in the Adam and Eve narrative, humans were the first and animals came later. You know, God trying to find the right helper for Adam and not knowing what to do. God not knowing what to do. I mean, it's... To me, the books of the Bible are not literally about God. They're about humans' understanding of God, which changes and evolves over time. It's a history of theological thought. Because I can't get behind the Supreme Being being confused, petty, jealous, wildly inconsistent with his feelings and opinions on various things. I can't get behind the Supreme Being being so small. I think that's what it is. Like, there's no way I could take the Bible as the literal 100% word of God himself. Personally. That doesn't mean there isn't merit in a lot of those ancient books, in those stories. But I feel like the fact that there was a deliberate choice made to include contradictions is in itself a message not to take this literally. Food for thought. Here's how something might have happened. Here's how we perceive God as being involved in this or that. Like, did God kill David and Bathsheba's son because he was conceived through adultery? Did God strike that infant dead? Or did humans perceive that God had struck that baby dead because he was conceived through adultery? That's the question that it's okay to ask. Like, it's like, count me out of anything where you tell me I can't ask questions too. Count me out. It's like, if God created us, God gave us these wonderful brains, these wonderful minds, the capacity to ask questions, the capacity to develop the scientific method and to learn about the world around us without having a book that doesn't make sense as one cohesive narrative. Like, it's a book of books that weren't written together, and to believe every word in it, you'd have to be nuts. I mean, honestly. Like, if you read it, and that's the thing, most people of the Christian faith, be honest, have not read the Bible cover to cover. It's not meant to be read cover to cover. The books are separate. There are some that are connected, that are by the same author, but mostly they were written by very different people in very different periods of time with very different agendas and very different ideas about God and what they attribute to God. Is God jealous and wrathful and petty? Is God angry and wrathful? Is God loving and forgiving and tender and nurturing? Like, you know, different people in different times and different places have different ideas, and they're all collected in that book for us to ponder. you know? And there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't get declaring your absolute belief in certain things and then ignoring them in your actual values. Like, you can't. This, like, most of the preachers I know, like, this is a sad truth. Most of the clergy people I know, and I must say that I have known some wonderful clergy people in my life who I think were very genuine. You know, their core values matched what they told other people their core values should be. That said, the majority of the clergy people I've known, there's no way you can convince me they even believed in God. And I don't think you have to believe in God to be a good person. But I'm saying if you're a preacher and you're telling everyone else they have to believe in God, and you don't, I consider that a flaw. I consider that a character flaw. Like, if the way you behave in life doesn't match up at all with what you claim to believe and what you teach other people that they must believe, then count me out. I'm not going to believe a word that comes out of your mouth or respect it. And I don't believe that you believe what you're telling me I need to believe. Count me out. No, this is fun. This is kind of cathartic. But yeah, I mean, I guess I don't get it. I know I don't get it, and I'm glad I don't get it, but, you know, when you mix your faith with, then that's what they're doing. It's like the right-wing politicians are preying on right-wing religious folks, because like those preachers I was talking about, there's no way these politicians actually believe in what they say they believe in. Otherwise, they would behave a great deal differently because they don't want to go to hell. Like, they wouldn't lie to you. They'd be all about feeding the poor. They'd be all about health care for everyone. They'd be all about treating children at the border with dignity. And they'd be all about love and kindness. They wouldn't be all about warmongering and oppressing people. They wouldn't be trying to take people's rights away and, you know, make the rich richer and the poor poorer and all of that crap. It doesn't line up with what they claim to believe. It's like the Bible is a prop to those people. You know, they go to church maybe on Sundays to get political brownie points. You know, love your neighbor as yourself. Let's see, how do I hurt transgender people after church? Let's ban some books on history. Let's ban some books that talk about the civil rights movement. Like, what the hell does that have to do with Jesus? Oh, it bothers me. If you can't tell. Not a fan. Not a fan of that crap. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you're gonna slap a Bible and tell everyone in the world, like, this is the truth, this is the only truth, and I believe every word of it, you should probably familiarize yourself with every word of it. In context. Like, study the history around it. The history around each book. Because it's different from book to book, like where this book came from, who wrote it, where, when, and why. What was important to the people of the time and place in which this particular book of the Bible was written. That matters. That matters when you're reading it. You can't take those books in as though they were written yesterday, as though they were written in the 21st century. It wouldn't make sense if you did. And if you're gonna say you believe in every word, then you can't view eating shrimp or wearing clothing with mixed fabrics as anything less than an abomination to God. But they don't have problems with that. They have problems with gay people. It's just you have problems with gay people. God has nothing to do with it. You're just a bigot. And you're using the fact that some preacher who doesn't believe in God is giving you permission to hate and saying God hates them more. God hates these people. You should too. I mean, and that's how I feel about all that. But you know, like things I like in the Bible. For one, I hate the book of Revelation. I think it's a lot of horse crap, personally. I think it's like, you know, the Nostradamus. It's like every year, you know, every New Year's, you get the news articles. Oh, Nostradamus predicted all these things for 2024. No, he didn't. Read Nostradamus. Come on. Like, he said a lot of weird crap that could be applied to a lot of different times. Like, he wasn't that specific about anything. The book of Revelation is the same. It's just not like I lean towards thinking that it was a coded book written in a time when Christian writings were outlawed, and it was about the present day, their present day, not ours. You know, it was about the Roman Empire. It was about what they were dealing with. That's what the symbolism was about. It wasn't about the end of the world. But there are things in there that you know, there are little kernels. And as much as I'm opposed to learning Bible verses out of context, which is one of the big problems, it's like, here, memorize this Bible verse out of context and use it to justify whatever horrible crap you want. I mean, but if you read the whole book, it changes the meaning of the verse. If you read the whole book in the historical context in which it was written, it changes the meaning of the whole book, including that verse. Well, it would appear I filled up my camera. So I'm at my my podcast setup here to wrap this one up. Right, so the book of Revelation, one of the lines I like, it's that whole, you know, people going before God and God looks at them, you know, it's this separating the sheep from the goats. And he says to the people, the sheep, the ones that he likes, you know, I was hungry and you fed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick or in prison and you visited me. Those are the people that he likes. And, you know, again, we're talking about different people having different ideas about God at different times and in different places. That's one of the ones I like. Yes, I cherry pick, and I'm not afraid to admit it, because you have to cherry pick the things you like and don't like, the thoughts that resonate and the thoughts that don't, because it's not consistent from one book to the next in the Bible. And you know, the people, the goats who he didn't like, I was hungry and you did not feed me. I was naked and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison and you did not visit me. those are the values that I think make more sense for a supreme being than right-wing politics. Like, I don't think Jesus would get mixed up in right-wing politics except to call people hypocrites, which he spent an entire gospel just calling people hypocrites. That was his biggest issue, was hypocrites. So, so that's my thinking. And considering I've worn out the camera, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. Um, yeah, I'm revved up. I keep getting revved up by the end of these videos, and that's good because I got a lot to do. I got a lot to do today. Um, but yeah, let me know what you think. Agree, disagree, completely different thought altogether than something I said here tonight. Post it in the comments. Let's have a conversation. Meanwhile, if you want to check out my novels and short stories, you can go to my author website, glensladeclarkjr.com. All the videos are there. The podcast I do with Matt called Autodidactica. Um, yeah, and that's all the selling myself I'm going to do right now. And I look forward to any comments you leave. So until next time, thanks for sitting up with me.